all the way to the top will not open it any farther than it was set here, as defined by the coarse slider. Next up, you have focus control. This ring down here allows me to manually focus the camera, so I can drag this back and forth to focus one way or the other. And then the A button here will autofocus it. Now I'm going to tell you it's not the fastest autofocus in the world, but it'll get the job done. Next, let's take a look at the color adjustments for the lift, gamma, and gain. If I go to the lift tool, I can take the color wheel and push that, for example, towards blue, adding blue into the shadows. I could then go to gain, push it the other way, and add some warmth into the highlights, allowing you to have quite a lot of color control over your scene. Now, what's really cool about this is you can actually save this into macros. So, for example, here I've already created a couple of macros where if I run these, I can choose to reset it back to neutral, or add a cool blue look, or add a greenish look in there as well. It's pretty neat that you can dial in the controls exactly the way you want them, make your colors match across multiple cameras, and then recall those at any time using macros. Another thing you can do in here is trigger autofocus from the macros. You'll see I have that set up there, so if I move the focus out of focus and then push the auto button, it'll trigger autofocus in there. Now, you can technically record the macro of changing the focus manually, but all it records is the change, a little bit up or a little bit down. It doesn't actually record a position. So you can't really use it to, for example, focus from point A to point B. It just doesn't really work that way. You might be able to eke it out if you're really, really careful with your starting and ending points, but it's not really what it's designed for, and it doesn't really work that well that way. But the autofocus does work just fine. All right, next up, let's take a look at the hardware buttons on the ATEM Mini Extreme ISO. Here you'll see that I have 2 up and down arrows underneath 4 other buttons that are listed as gain, black, focus, and shutter. Without any of these 4 buttons depressed, the up and down arrows here will open and close the aperture, making the image brighter or darker. If I press the gain button while that's lit up, these arrows now adjust the gain. And you can see the adjustment happening over in the software control as well. You also have your black level that you can adjust, the shutter, and even focus. If I press the focus button and then tap the arrows, it will refocus the camera a little bit at a time. Or if I press and hold the focus button for 3 seconds, that will trigger autofocus. And there we go. Now the camera's in focus. Pairing the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera with the ATEM Mini is a pretty great combination. Being able to have this level of control from the software or even the hardware is pretty great. Keep in mind as well that if you're using one of the ISO models, not only can you record the ISO streams as an MP4 file on an attached hard drive, but you can also trigger recording in cameras to record RAW in the camera natively, which you can then sync up with the XML file inside of DaVinci Resolve. It's all pretty advanced, so we'll look at that in another video. But for now, just know that connecting one of these cameras to the ATEM is going to give you a pretty sweet level of control. Hey, that's everything I wanted to show you today. As always, if you have a tip that you want to see, something that's troubling you with your ATEM, let me know in the comments below and I can try and do a video on it. And of course, as always, please like, subscribe, and share the video, and I'll see you in the next mini tip.